All right, so let's talk about this. So Benn has went and jumped ship, left Matchroom to go to Zuffa Boxing. Are y'all shocked? I'm not shocked at anything. Things happen. Well, you can talk about money over loyalty. You can talk about a lot of things. I told y'all this is a business. I don't trust anybody. This is a business. You know, people want opportunity. They want advantages. And if somebody can provide that for them, or they think that they can in a better way that you can, they're going to jump ship. Now, one thing I do have to say about Eddie Hearn is, he had a lot to say about David Haney when they had their falling out. He had a lot to say about Richard Hitchison when they had their falling out. He's expressing as far as this with Benn, like saying that, he just feels really hurt, disappointed, but he forgot that this is boxing, let his personal feelings for the fighter get involved, and, talked about how much, he did a lot for Benn. And according to Eddie Hearn, he didn't even get to talk to Benn. He got a call from his attorney. And, he was saying, I think I at least deserve, a phone conversation, with Benn. All I've done for Conor, come on. And Conor said no. So Conor didn't want to talk to Eddie Hearn. So he jumped ship. See, Dana White, we know that all these guys, like him and Turkey Al-Sheikh, remember, Turkey was working, with Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren, and all of a sudden now, he's over here working with Dana White now. So he's working with the competition. And, Dana White is rubbing it in, talking about they can't compete, they don't know what they're doing, and all this. It's like there's no pushback at all. It's like I'm what do you say? Like he's fighting babies or taking something from babies or whatever, right? He's rubbing it in. I'm gonna tell y'all something. See, one of the biggest problems with boxing has no structure. People within boxing are greedy as hell, and it's all about money. They don't care. You could be a basketball player. If they think putting you in there with Alexander Usyk is going to get the fans to come out and or whatever. So nobody was protecting boxing. It's all about if you can make money, then hey, why not? Right? And that's all they cared about. Now, Dana White comes along and he's every bit as greedy as they are. And what he's trying to do, they're trying to get all these top guys. That's what they're trying to do. So it doesn't really matter. All this stuff that they're saying, we see what's going on. This is a power move. That's what these are. These are power moves. These are, let's try to get all the top guys that we can. And, they're already talking about trying to build their own boxing federation, organization. And this is why they want the Ring magazine, because they don't want the other sanctioning bodies involved. So this way, you're the champion. There'll be one champion in every division. One champion. The most you'll probably get is if somebody get injured or something happens where you might have an interim. And that eventually that interim champion is going to fight, the actual champion, for the belt. And that's what it'll be. It won't be 2-3 belt holders and all that. Just one belt. And they won't need all them sanctioning bodies. Dana White doesn't give a fuck about boxing. Dana White cares about the money he's going to make. He didn't start a boxing organization. He started, his UFC stuff. So people better understand, these fighters that keep jumping ship, you're dealing with a guy that cares about the money more than anything else. And people, have gotten used to this business model in boxing. It doesn't matter who the fighters are in the ring. If the people come out to see it, they're watching on pay-per-view. That's what matters to them. Eddie Hearn, he talked about Anthony Joshua being a completely different person. He don't have to worry about that with AJ because of AJ's loyalty. He could be right. But listen, in business, you got to always keep your eyes open, man. I mean, if you have somebody that you just feel like you can trust 1,000%, okay, fine. But You know, you never know. You just never know. You know, he said maybe Conor Benn is not the person he thought he was. All of these guys want money. And opportunists, you can't trust at all. And so when you know, are someone like in his position, when you look at all the fighters out there, I can remember one time, I don't remember who, I think it was Terrence Crawford. when I think it was Terrence Crawford. When they was asking him, somebody it was, they asked Eddie Hearn about if that person, would he want to sign that person? And he said that he would love to. But what he said at the time made sense. He said, because I know it was a welterweight, and he said that he would love to. He said the only problem, he said, being 100% honest, is I don't know that I could get him the fights he want or make those, just make things better. He said, because at the time PBC had all the top welterweights. They were all signed to PBC. And PBC wasn't trying to do cross-platform, and they wanted everything to be in-house. And that made all the sense in the world. So Eddie was being honest on that. But bottom line, in the long run, like, you can't hold something against one person and not the other. Because all these promoters, all of them, they all have something about them that they'll do some, twisting and turning to get the advantage in their way for their fighters. Everybody's not doing things 100% legit, and we doing all that. I mean, even like, just for example, the fact that they fought Conor Benn versus Chris Eubanks Jr., and Eddie was trying to get him to come down even more. Like Eddie was saying that the fight should have been at 154 pounds. He wanted to be at the actual, junior middleweight limit, weight limit. And he's talking about he think that Chris could come down more. You see Chris's performance in there. And he also said he don't want, after the first fight, he said he don't want his fighter to have another fight like that. Those kind of fights take years off your life, right? And the thing is, Conor Benn is not just, a fighter he's doing business with someone that he cares about very much, and he don't want his fighter to go through that, right? And pretty much, he knows that the same thing double goes for Chris Eubanks Jr. because Chris Eubanks Jr. is fighting to where he's going to be a very drained fighter. And, if your opponent comes in stronger than you are, they have that advantage to where, hey, I'm coming up in weight, but you had to come down and meet me at a certain weight, and it was a rehydration clause. So it's only fair play when Shakur says the same thing to Conor Benn about give me that same stipulation. But that's another story anyway, because Devin Haney should be out here trying to fight. Shakur should be out here trying to fight Devin Haney. Anyway, not no damn Conor Benn. But, so my point with all of that is that, yeah, Eddie knows, that these people take advantage of each other and all of that. So this is why I say, when you deal with straight up people, somebody you never had to worry about them lying to you or trying to stab you in the back. They never gave you a reason to look at them some type of way. Then yeah, that's something that you can get used to, and you don't worry about what this person might do. Because like I said, they never gave you a reason to think that. But anytime somebody's trying to make money, big money, and your back is turned a lot, man, you don't know what those people are doing. You don't know how a person really feels. You don't know, who they're in contact with. But he sounded like he really was devastated by the fact that he did so much with Conor Benn and did a lot for him, and then he just jumped ship like that. I didn't even want to talk to him. But, hey, life goes on. I think Matchroom will be fine without Conor Benn. Truth of the matter is, Conor Benn is not a big star globally. He's more popular in the UK. Nobody gives a shit about Conor Benn in America and other places, really. Nobody really cares about no damn Conor Benn. I used to, I think people was being unfair to Conor some years ago where they kept comparing him to his dad. I just think that that's always a bad comparison. An unfair thing to do, I'm saying, when, you're expecting this person, like, you have to be as good as your father or better, where if it happens, it happens. I felt like they was exaggerating his performances, like saying like he wasn't doing things impressively, and but Conor was winning, he was doing his thing, but then he started acting really arrogant and cocky, and then after the drug treat situation, and so it was just like, all right, you know what, it is what it is, and what's going to happen with each fighter, you don't know. You don't know what's going to happen when the contracts are up, and do they want to re-sign with you? You don't know. So when somebody just make up their mind, and especially somebody that you thought you was cool with, and they just make up their fucking mind that they're just going to jump ship, they don't even want to talk to you. Hey, yeah, he fucked around and found out. But yeah, man, it is what it is, man. And after all that shit that Dana White was talking, it's like he think it's funny. He really does. And he feels like, look, they're trying to get all these top guys, man. And I'm going to tell you something right now. For the fighters that really want to be in fights, and there's certain people especially that they want to test their skills against, if Dana White can get them, just say, for example, right? If like, just say like if Canelo and what's his face, Benavidez was still at the same weight class, right? And let's just say, for example, if Canelo signed with Zuffa Boxing, and let's say that Turkey is going, hey man, I want Canelo versus Benavidez, right? But Benavidez hasn't signed with them yet. Them motherfuckers come over there like, David, fuck the next fight you about to have. We got Canelo. You come sign with us, I guarantee you that fight. And we'll give you $50 million and give Canelo $50 million. What you think David Benavidez is going to do? And especially if he win. And they put a stipulation that if you beat him, yeah, they got another plan where the next fight will be another $50 million. Just say, what you think he's going to do? And before you know it, hey, John Pataya, listen, I was just thinking, and before you know it, this is what they're trying to do. See, these sanctioning bodies, and also Dana White and Turkey is dependent on these sanctioning bodies to help keep fights from not happening, which will make it so much easier if, nope, there are no sanctioning bodies. We just have the ring belt. That's it. You come sign with us, you don't have to worry about that, because you ain't got to worry about stuff like, like with Canelo and Bivol, for example, where here you have Mauricio Sulaiman stepping in to try to prevent this fight from happening again at 168 or 80 weight, because he just didn't want Canelo to lose again. So he comes up with this whole thing about the war. I mean, that was a situation, but, if Canelo wanted that fight would have happened. Canelo didn't want that fight. So here's the deal. Let's say Canelo is the ring magazine champion at 168, and now they bring in David Benavidez, and he decides that he doesn't want to fight. He want to pull a no call, no show to a conference or something or whatever, or he's just pull out the fight. Nah, you'll be stripped. Well, you'll be stripped. You understand what I'm saying? And they're gonna have to be stricter and tighten up. With Zuffa Boxing and what they've been doing already with this, the sanctioning bodies not being able to come to terms and all that. You will see a difference. You will see a change, and the real fighters might end up going over to Zuffa, because the way things are going now. Look at all these fights, man. You got look, even like just say for Jermell Charlo and Canelo, when they were in the same weight class, these guys were in their damn 20s. Now, when you finally get Jermell Charlo versus Canelo, almost mid-30s. Crawford versus Canelo, mid-30s, late 30s. You understand what I'm saying? These fights that you get, if you look at the age of these people, by the time they get that signature fight, these motherfuckers are already 30, 31 years old. So it's like, What was happening in your 20s? Why we couldn't get those fights then? And like I said, a lot of times management are telling you, hey, you don't need this fight. But a lot of times, yeah, like the sanctioning bodies don't want to do things, in my opinion, the right way. Like example, if I'm the heavyweight champ, and I say, look, Mauricio, I want to drop down to bridgerweight, right? And I want to fight Lawrence or Cody, but I'm going to come right back to heavyweight. I just want the accomplishment. I'm going to go down there, knock him out, take his belt, then I'm going to drop the belt and come back to heavyweight. And Mauricio tell me I got to put it in writing or whatever the fuck. Okay, it's an agreement. Now your attorney get involved. All okay, cool. I got no problem with that. Now, if I say that to Mauricio and he goes verbally, just, oh, no problem, man. I'm like, yeah, you got my word on that. I'm just going to drop them, beat him, then I'm going to drop the belt and come back. But then all of a sudden, he strips me because I went down and fought, Lawrence Cody for the WBO, Bridgerweight Championship or something or whatever. Like, come on. That's going to make me not want to do business with that person that stabbed you in the back. And this is what I'm saying about business. Don't make it personal. I understand it's a business, and when it comes to money, that's all people care about. That's all they care about is making as much money as they possibly can. So, anyway, it is what it is. Can't, no need to cry over spilled milk. Dude jumped ship, and he might not be the last one. But now, the way he jumped ship definitely doesn't make him like a good person. So, thing is, man, Eddie Hearn, whoever, everybody has said and did some shit where, because Eddie Hearn has said some shit I didn't agree with. He made moves that I didn't agree with. He's not the only one, but like I'm saying, as far as somebody doing something downright dirty, that's something different. And I feel like for somebody to just jump ship and like they don't even want to talk to you, it's like, all right. And you didn't hear anything about any beef that he had with Conor. Like, this just came suddenly. I don't really care about the story overall. Whatever happened. He's over there. And how they move this guy, because this is what they try to do when they sign a person. They want to try to move you to where you have all the advantages. And again, you'll see junk fights happen, 2 or 3 of them, then one meaningful fight. That's the way things happen. And obviously Conor Benn is at 147 again. So, there's really nobody left at 147 anybody really cares about so much. Devin Haney being there, maybe, Devin Haney being there. I can't think offhand right now who else is right there, name-wise, but, I don't really want to count Manny Pacquiao in because Manny Pacquiao is still at the end of his career no matter what he's doing. Mario Barrios, whatever. But just saying, y'all, this is boxing. This is business. But yeah, a lot of people done gave up on Conor. They just, his attitude, his cockiness, his arrogance or whatever. But him going to these guys, yeah, they're going to try to move him, right? They're going to try to move him and protect him. And that's pretty much what you see happening now. Let's protect our investment, especially if somebody is, and for them to do it the way they did with him leaving Matchroom. Yeah, well, you might as well, make sure that you make it count for something, because otherwise you just have a trade on your hands if he comes there and settle for just junk fights and we can pay you big money to fight a bunch of nobodies. I don't see the point in that. And Turkey like to put these spectacles, what he consider spectacles, but I don't know. It don't look good on Conor behalf the way it happened, man. Either way, as a man, you don't need to do that like a little bitch, man. You confront that person, let them know, that's just dirty. That's really dirty. But it's business. And a lot of people feel like Eddie Hearn is getting, they feel like he's spitting the wind. Put it like that. A lot of people. But I don't mix business with pleasure, man. And that's what people need to learn and understand. So, again, Nasty. Damn, that was vicious. But again, money over loyalty in this business, man. When it comes to that, you think that somebody really got your back. You think that they're really, like, oh, that person, I don't have to worry about that. I mean, even the situation with Floyd and Al Heyman, you had Rolly Romero and Bullet, but there's always something that goes on, Derek James and Errol Spence, there's always something in business. And I'm bringing these people up because at some point you can see, you interview a person, they talking so highly about these very people that they end up having falling outs with. And when they have a falling out, it's never like a misunderstanding. It's somebody deliberately did some dirty shit. So, hey, man, I wouldn't trust nobody. Like I say, I don't. I look at it, I see people for who they are. But best case scenario of revenge for Eddie Hearn is if somebody beat the shit out of Conor Benn, and he go, yeah, see, you see what happened, mate? I told you. I got in this spot to get the best fighters that I can possibly get. Yeah, they lose these fighters, man. This is business. Business. Don't trust anybody. And that's pretty much what everybody need to understand. It's like when you go to work every day, man. You fuck around putting women in your car, some woman drive around some dude, you get in an accident. Now you got to be trying to explain why you had this bitch in the car with you, why this dude was in the car with you, and whatever. Yeah, just don't mix that shit, man. It is what it is. But, I mean, in this situation right here, you got to think, like I said, man. I don't know what they was paying Conor Benn. I don't know if there was any conversations between him and Eddie Hearn, and there was, like, disputes. Eddie Hearn never mentioned it. According to Eddie Hearn, he acting like nothing ever happened. Like, Conor just up and did what he did. But whatever the case, he's gone. Talk to me in the comment section, y'all. That's all I got for y'all. At the end of the day, I said what I said.